Okay, so this is part 2. Now first again I want you to identify A, the period, and the starting x value, and the intervals so that you can graph. So pause the video, do that if you haven't already, and then unpause when you're ready to check. Okay, so we have an A value of -2, a period of pi thirds, our intervals are pi twelfths, and our starting x value is going to be pi sixths. Now another thing I just want to emphasize, if I asked you what is the amplitude, you would say none or does not exist. So if I ask you for amp, it's a trick question, it does not exist. Alright, now I want you to go ahead and graph this. So pause the video, try to graph it on your own. Unpause when you're ready to check your work, or when you get stuck. Okay, so we start at pi sixths, and then we increase by pi twelfths. So pi sixths is 2 pi twelfths. Then I go to 3 pi twelfths, which is pi fourths, 4 pi twelfths, which is pi thirds, 5 pi twelfths, and 6 pi twelfths, which is pi halves. The beginning and the end of the period are asymptotes, so I draw my vertical asymptotes. Since I had an A value of -2, I'm going to mark down 2 and -2 on my y-axis. Since it's negative, the graph flips. So think about, again, when we did transformations, what happens when you have a negative value in front of the common function? You multiply the y values by a negative. So normally this would be down at -2, now it's at +2. Normally this would have been up at +2, it's down at -2. The point in the middle stays the same because 0 times -2 is still 0. And then I draw my curve. Alright, one last thing I want to point out again, just to emphasize. Our starting x value is different than the horizontal shift. So I could ask you on a test or a quiz or a final or just in random conversation, hey, what is the horizontal shift of this function? Well, the horizontal shift we get by doing what we did for all of the other functions. By all of the other functions, I mean sine and cosine, although it is the same for any other trig function that we haven't looked at also. So we would set, horizontal shift, we would set 3x minus pi equal to 0 and x equals pi thirds. So our horizontal shift would be pi thirds. Notice that for tangent, that is the middle of the period. Again, for sine and cosine, the horizontal shift is where we start. Tangent is unique. Here's our conclusion. Graphing tangent is fun. Have a good night.